Hello, everyone. Jesse is back. Path of Exile, Crucible. Yes, a new Path of Exile League. Just when you thought they'd stop, they keep on coming. Don't you love them? April 7th, just a few days from now. Oh my gosh, where has the time gone? I'm going to be playing this one. Just like I play every other league, especially on reset. It's the most exciting time to play. But I think this one, I'm going to be playing. Because I like the mechanic. And I like some of the changes, not all the changes, but I like some of the changes that they made in the patch notes. So let's talk about it. Let's go through it. Let's see what has me excited. The mechanic itself is pretty spicy, and I think that's part of the draw right now. Your items, your weapons specifically, have skill trees. So every single weapon, shields, count as a weapon in this situation, has its own skill tree that you allocate points just like as you would in any other skill tree. This is a lot of extra power to the item. Items already have, mods, and then there's synthesis implicits, and there's, these fracture bases. Items can have a lot of variety, but having an entire extension of an item be a skill tree is, it's something. It's something. And these skill trees, you allocate points by putting the item in the Crucible Forge, which I think that's what this is right here. And the Crucible Forge, you kill enemies around the forge, and then your item gains experience. Literally, like, you get experience on your weapon, and when your weapon gets enough experience, you can allocate the next skill point. In addition to just having the weapon stats, the added stats from the skill tree are very strong. It supposedly is going to have some skills that completely change the playstyle of a piece of gear. There's one, Flicker Strike's cooldown can be bypassed by power charges. That line fundamentally changes the way that Flicker Strike behaves, at least the way that you generate frenzy charges. You can completely revamp your build based on that one point, right? Which is cool. That's very cool and exciting. And that alone, I'm a person who likes to play off meta builds, and I like to create new builds. Anything that opens the doors of possibilities and etc. Is very exciting to me. And being able to engage in the mechanic myself and get something out of it like that, really cool. This league, I am very excited about the fact that if you can just kill the mechanic boss, the mechanic spawn, you get the experience. It's not as punishing to one specific archetype. So I love that. One thing that makes me nervous is, in order to actually level up, quote unquote, level up your item, I'm concerned that GGG is going to do the thing where getting from this 4th point to this 5th point is literally like 100 red maps of Crucible Forges. And it requires just a ludicrous amount of grinding in order to actually allocate all these points, which GGG that's the kind of thing they would do. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. But otherwise, the mechanic is pretty sweet. And the fact that you can build around some of these, like create a whole build just around the tree that's attached to the item, is cool. There's some other stuff you can do. There's like a recombinator type mechanic where you can basically squish 2 items into one, forge them together or whatever, which is very akin to recombinators. But what it does is it basically combines 2 of these item skill trees together, which is also kind of cool. It's very interesting. Yeah, they did some rework to Breach and Abyss. Don't really play either of these mechanics too much, so I wasn't that awed and amazed by that. They did add a Atlas Gateway on the Atlas skill tree, which is just a quality of life thing. Anything that's quality of life related, I love. They increased the stack size of Chaos Orbs to 20. For those who don't play Path of Exile, that's like irrelevant. It's like, what does that even mean? Who cares? But for people who've played a lot, who played for many leagues, it's a huge quality of life improvement. So love to see that. The mechanic, thumbs up. I approve. I'm interested. I want to play. Log in. But the patch notes. So let's start at the top. So what I talked about the last patch notes, and I think even the patch notes before that, there was one league where they literally did no balance changes. They changed nothing. I think it was like after Sentinel League. Maybe it was Mirror of Kalandra. I forget. One of them was like 3.17, 3.18. They just did 0 balance changes. Last patch, they didn't do very many, if I recall. This patch, they did a lot more. I have to give it to them. They did more. Their balance team did things, which I'm a proponent of constant iterative changes to skill gem numbers, to ascendancy numbers, to skill tree numbers. Literally everything, you just tweak it. And even if you're only tweaking it a little bit, that could incentivize someone to play a new skill, to try something different. And it's a build maker's paradise because the meta, as everyone uses the term meta, is not figured out and solid and sold to where the game is the exact same. Right now, the game has a lot of playable builds, and it's actually really nice. Last league, even, there were a lot of playable builds. So I took a break, probably could have played that league and been pretty dedicated to it just because of the number of archetypes, but I was not satisfied with the skill gem balance adjustments as well as the ascendancy balance adjustments last league. This league, I feel kind of the same. I really do. I don't want to roast GGG because they did 2 big ascendancy reworks to the Saboteur, which is the trap and mine class, and traditionally just a trapper and miner ascendancy. They did some pretty big overhauls of that, added some really interesting ascendancy notables. Fine. Then they also did a rework to Pathfinder. I never play the bottom right of the tree, just like ever. I don't know why. I don't play Deadeye. I don't play Raider. I don't know why. I don't know why. But you know, if you're a Flask junkie Pathfinder, and the Trap and Mine class got changed. So I have to tip my hat and say, okay, at least they did something, but I wanted to see numerical changes to the objectively bad ascendancies. What's interesting is that Saboteur and Pathfinder, they weren't necessarily amazing ascendancies, but they had somewhat of a play rate, and they felt like these needed reworks to help their identity or whatever. And that's fine. You completely rework something, that's one thing. But I don't understand why the balance team doesn't want to make numerical changes, simple numerical changes to ascendancies. If you give a 5% more damage on Chieftain somewhere, doesn't matter which ascendancy notable, you can put 5%, 10% on a couple of them, it probably doesn't materially change where the ascendancy ranks, except for maybe like 3 or 4% more. And a few more people try it out. A few more people play it. It's a little bit better. And that alone, I think, is just so insurmountably more exciting and better for the game overall than what they usually do, which is just not touch an ascendancy until they completely rework it. Gladiator, again, I made this comment the last time I studied these patch notes. I don't understand why they don't just make minor numerical changes. If you don't want to rework the entire ascendancy, you can still, I personally, maybe the community would disagree with me, but I personally would like to see numbers go up for bad ascendancies. You know, block numbers go up, you know, percent damage reduced numbers go up. Whatever notables that they do have, just bump the percentages up 5, 10%. I guarantee you, people will say, oh, you know, clamoring like, oh my gosh, this isn't enough. This is so, you need to completely rework this notable. It's so bad. But you can say, we want to make this ascendancy a little bit better and a little bit more playable. We are considering reworking the whole ascendancy in the future. So maybe they feel like if they're going to make any change at all, they need to make a overhaul and completely change it. But I'm like, just make little numerical changes. The same thing with skill gems. So one of the things they did, and I think that this is their motivation for not touching any skill gems, is they added a ton of new masteries, and they completely overhauled a lot of the existing mastery system. The mastery system is relatively new, so this is on the passive tree, and the masteries are akin to changing the passive tree. And I think that changing the passive tree is a healthy thing for the game, probably is enough, and maybe they feel like the skill gems are balanced enough. If you change the passive skill tree, people are going to play different skill gems. Is that true? It's kind of not, actually. The same skill gems that were good are still going to be good if the passive tree is different. But I digress. I would have liked to see more numerical changes to some bad skill gems. I think that, the slam boys and the melee players, we're just, it's fine. We're drowning, we're floundering, but we're just going to keep at it. But overall, honestly, these patch notes are a lot more compelling to me than the 3.20 patch notes by a long shot. I'm still disappointed that they took away some of the best unique jewels in the game, the most build-creating, build-defining, interesting, unique, and kind of spicy, unique jewels that took away a lot of identity from build creators like myself. And I wish that they put some of those back in, but it's all good. There are plenty of weird niche builds that are untapped this league that I plan on diving into. So kind of a long-winded video here, but to wrap it up, I'll just say my own and share my own plans for the league. I am league starting slams like I always do. I'm playing the Berserker Ascendancy. I think there's a good chance that I will play Rage Vortex. Probably, maybe I start with Ground Slam and go into Earth Shatter for a while and then do Rage Vortex. Not 100% sure. Haven't fully pinned it down yet, but probably just another Berserker. I'm going to try to play a little bit more this league. I'm going to try to push a little bit further and get more challenges than I did last league. Last league, I didn't get a lot of challenges. This league, I hope to play for a little bit longer, be a little bit more dedicated. I still have a whole lot to do. I still have to make a new item filter. I'm going to probably mess around with my hideout, maybe make my hideout a little more spicy. And then I'm probably going to also redo some of my stash tabs, do a little bit of league start practice and leveling. I also want to comment that I have been doing a little bit of YouTube streaming. Most of this is just for my own review of my league starts. I do want to try to get better at leveling and the early game. So going back through those VODs is good for myself, and I think that the recorded video system is a little easier on YouTube than it is on Twitch. But all that to say, you might see me live streaming on YouTube from time to time. If you want to hop in, I usually have 0 viewers, which is fine. Any other change worth mentioning? I really don't think so. I'm sure that I'm forgetting something, but I think for now, I just want to share that I'm very excited about this league. I think it's going to be a great one. And yeah, so see you boys Friday. Bye.